Football, the NFL way. Brought to you by Wheaties. The basic goodness of 100% whole wheat makes Wheaties the breakfast of champions.
Being a champion starts with the basics. Like a perfect handoff and a breakfast of Wheaties. Champions start with the basics.
Go. Hi, I'm Phil Simms, and I'll be your host for our two-part instructional series, Learning Football the NFL Way. The first tape concentrates on learning how to play offense, and the second tape in the series teaches how to play defense and the kicking game. In the tape you are about to see, Offense, I will be joined by some of the biggest stars in the National Football League to provide you with instruction in the basic fundamentals and skills involved in playing offense position by position. Each instructor will cover the areas you need to learn in playing his specialty, as well as providing drills and tips on technique and safety to make you a better player. Positions to be covered will be quarterback, which I will be teaching, running back with Eric Dickerson of the Los Angeles Rams, pass receiving with Todd Christensen of the Los Angeles Raiders, offensive line with Russ Grimm of the Washington Redskins, and special sections on equipment, conditioning, and special teams with my teammate Phil McConkey of the New York Giants. I will then talk about the factors you might consider in choosing a position on offense. The quarterback is the leader of the offense. He's the one that calls the signals that sets the play in motion. I want to teach you some of the basic skills and fundamentals in playing quarterback. Each play starts with the snap of the football from the center to the quarterback. And in receiving the snap, the quarterback wants to do one important thing first, position himself correctly behind the center. And how we want to do that is to place our feet shoulder width apart and our knees slightly bent so we're comfortable behind him so we can receive the snap. Then we want to take our right hand or our left hand if we're left-handed and place it underneath the center and take the opposite hand, which in my case will be my left hand, and put it directly below the right hand. And in doing this, we just want to put moderate pressure on the center, not too much because we don't want to push him too hard where we push him over and he can't block the guy in front of him. So we want to make sure we just put moderate pressure and then call out our signals and take the snap. Ready, set, go. As you can see, it's very important that the laces of the football come up properly. That's in case if the play develops quickly, I'm either ready to throw the football or hand it off. After receiving the snap of the football from the center, the quarterback wants to make sure he makes the proper pivot, getting away from the line of scrimmage. The proper way to do this would be if I was stepping to my left, is to take the snap, push off on my right foot, and move to my left. The improper way to do this would be to take the snap from the center, make a step with my right foot, and then push off. What we want to try to avoid as a quarterback is wasted time in motion at the line of scrimmage. The handoff sets the running play in motion. As a quarterback, we want to pocket the ball close to the body to protect it with both hands securely around it. Then we want to place the ball firmly into the pocket that the running back has formed and then let go so the running play can develop. There's two ways to execute the pitch out. The first way is to open up to the side of the play and pitch the ball. With the pitch out, it's very important to have slight rotation on the ball because it's much easier for the running back to catch. The second way is a reverse pivot, which gives the quarterback momentum in tossing the ball. In passing the football, you start with a grip. Quarterbacks grip the ball many different ways. This is how I grip it. Just remember, the most important factor in gripping the football is to do it in a way that is most comfortable for you. Now we're going to talk about the drop back. The 5-step drop is the most commonly used in football, and that's the one I'm going to show you. Some important factors to remember is after you take the snap is to turn and to push off the left foot and reach as far back with the right foot as possible because we want to get as far away from the line of scrimmage as we can. Then we want to make one big reach over step as big as we can, and then another reach step with the right foot as large as we can. Then the last two steps, probably the most important steps, are two little baby steps, a crossover and another reach step, very little, because we want to get in position to throw the football. In throwing the football, we want to remember to hold the ball chest high and put both hands firmly on it. Then we want to pick out a target and push off our right foot and transfer the weight to our left foot and deliver the football. There are a lot of different ways to throw the football. Some people throw it sidearm, some people throw the ball directly over their head. But always remember, throw the ball in a way that is most comfortable for you. But one technique I'd like to show you, which I think can help, is that in throwing the football, always try to keep the elbow at least parallel with the shoulder. That way, if defensive linemen are coming in with their hands raised, you have a chance to get the ball over their head and complete the pass. The quarterback has to use a lot of variety of speeds in throwing the football. Sometimes he has to throw the ball hard. Sometimes he has to throw the ball soft. All that is dictated on the situation on the football field. For example, if I'm throwing the ball to my wide receiver and there's a defender between me and him, I have to throw the ball soft over the top of the defender so my wide receiver can catch it. If I'm throwing the ball over the middle and the tight end is covered by two people and they're both around him, of course, I have to throw the ball very hard to get it in between these defenders so he has a chance to catch it. Other times, if a defensive lineman is rushing the quarterback and he doesn't have a chance to set his feet and to throw the ball properly, he just has to throw the ball off balance and dump it off to a running back or to the tight end, whoever's closest to him, in a way to get rid of the ball. And if a quarterback is a blitz coming and it's not picked up, of course, he has to change his drop, set up much quicker, and deliver the ball according to the situation down the field. Sometimes when you get rid of it quickly, you throw it soft to the running back, or other times you have to stop and throw the ball hard in between defenders to a receiver. Also, an important point to remember in throwing the football, when we are throwing the short passes, the 10 to 15, 20 yarders down the field, that we can throw these balls what we call on the line, because we can pinpoint these passes. We can throw them to a certain spot where the receiver can catch the ball. But in throwing the deep pass, we have to give the ball what we call air time, because we must throw it high so the offensive man who is trying to receive this ball has a chance to slow down or speed up to catch the football. Another type of pass more widely used in high school and the college ranks than in the pros is the rollout pass. An important factor to remember in the rollout pass as a quarterback is to square your shoulders up with the line of scrimmage before delivering the ball. Simple drill that I want to show all you young quarterbacks out there is just dropping and catching the football. Something I learned to do when I was a young kid and I started playing football, and something I continue to do even as a professional. What this does for you is teaches you to learn to handle the football. And as a quarterback, that's the most important thing we do, of course, is handle that football, either handing off or throwing. I got a tip for all you young quarterbacks out there. What do you think of when you're walking to the line of scrimmage before each play? I tell you what I think of. I think of where all my players are going to be on that play. Where are my wideouts going to be? Where are my running backs going to be? Where's my tight end going to be? Why? Because if something goes wrong with the pass protection of that play, I want to be able to get rid of the ball quickly if I have to. That's why it's always important to know where your players are.
The most important aspect of football is prevention and protection from injury. In order to be successful as a football player, you have to perform, and in order to perform, you have to be out on the field playing. And in order to do that, you have to protect yourself from different types of injuries. Now I'm going to show you from head to toe the different types of equipment that football players wear and why they wear it. First, and probably most important part of the equipment, is the helmet. The helmet will protect you against blows to the head, face, and even parts of the neck. Going down, we've got a neck roll, and as you can see, it rotates all the way about the head and neck. And what that does is prevent the head from hyperextending or going too far, farther than the neck should go. Now, if this player received a blow to the head backwards, this neck roll will prevent the neck from going too far and thereby giving injury to the back of the neck. Also, it prevents and protects the neck from side-to-side injuries. Going down the list is the shoulder pads. The shoulder pads can protect the sternum, the tops of the shoulders, all the way down the back and part of the spine. And the shoulder pads are also a big part of the equipment package, because most of football is used with the upper body, tackling, blocking, getting hit. You use your shoulders a lot of times, and it's a good protectant for the upper body. Coming down, you've got rib protectors, flak jacket, and these things can absorb a great amount of pressure. You've seen people take baseball bats and slap it against these protectors to protect the ribs. And it not only goes to the front part of the ribs, but the sides and also around the back. Now, different players may use a modified version, like myself. I broke my ribs and my back a couple years ago, and what I use is a narrower piece that just covers the back. Next down the list are the hip pads. Now, the hip pads will protect your hip part of your body, and you've heard the expression hip pointer, and a hip pointer is when you receive a blow to this area here. There's a bone that protrudes out from your hip, and it's a very painful injury to have. You want to keep that protected, that area, those hips. Coming around the back, we've got what we call a tail pad. Now, the tail pad will protect the spine at the spine's lowest point, and that's a very vulnerable part of the body, and if that's injured, it could be very serious. So you want to protect that tail part, the bottom part of the spine, so we wear what's called a tail pad. We've got the hip pad on the other side, and coming down farther, we wear the thigh pads, and the thigh pads protect the thighs from collisions from tackles, somebody's knee coming up and hitting you in that area. You want to try to protect as wide an area as you can, but also allow room for mobility. And there again, a wide receiver may want to have a smaller, thinner pad than offense or defensive lineman, so as a defensive back would also rather have a smaller one. Coming down, we've got the knee pads. Now the knee pads will protect the knee and the upper part of the knee where the thigh pads don't protect. And that's important when you're falling down on the AstroTurf, the hard surfaces. You can protect the front part of the knee from any injury and the patella tendon from any injury. Also, what a lot of linemen are wearing these days to protect the knees are knee braces. Now this brace starts down here and it's held together here at this point and this point. And there are different kinds of braces. This particular one's a steel one encased in cloth, and it protects the outside part of the knee from a blow this way. I've seen guys take these protectants off after a game, and you can see them bent. And without this type of equipment, a lot of guys would have serious knee injuries. Down, we've got the socks and more importantly, the shoes. There are different types of shoes for different surfaces. Grass shoes, and you've got AstroTurf shoes for the AstroTurf. And it's important there to just have a good fit and make sure you've got good traction to keep you from sliding, and those kind of things keep you from getting injuries. Accessory pads that some guys will wear. We've got a forearm pad, which many linebackers, linemen will use when they use their forearms to shed off blocks or make tackles. Some guys will just wear cloth on the AstroTurf to protect their elbows from AstroTurf burns. Hand pads, again, for linemen and linebackers. They use their hands a lot to shed off people and make collisions. Again, this isn't very appropriate for a wide receiver or defensive back or running back. But then again, if you do sustain an injury to the back of the hand, you can modify this type of pad to protect yourself against further injury. And it's very important to protect yourself fully from injury on the football field. And the only way to do that is have the proper type of padding. And that padding will change from position by position or individual preference. But it's more important to be protected.
In this day and age of 4,000-yard passing seasons and 100-catch seasons, it's obvious that passing is an integral part of football today. Today, I'll give you the opportunity to learn not only more skills involved in the passing game for both the wide receiver and the tight end, but the ability to play the game more intelligently as well. This is not my idea, but as the old football adage goes, you have to crawl before you can walk. Hence, one of the basic parts of being a receiver, both a wide receiver and a tight end, is the stance. And there are some differences. The wide receiver, for the most part, needs to be going straight ahead. So he doesn't have to have necessarily a wide stance. He doesn't necessarily have to have a stance where he needs to go sideways. He wants to go up the field. These are the sprinters. These are the long striders. In a three-point stance, they want to get almost in a starter stance, fairly narrow, with the weight on the back foot so that they can head forward. When I'm flexed out as a tight end, I like to have a two-point stance because it affords me the opportunity to look out and see the entire field so I can see the defense. And of course, if the defense comes up in a push or an attack position where he's right in front of me, it also affords me the opportunity to stand up and move quicker than I can in the three-point stance. With the increased number of quarterback sacks, the quarterback is having less and less time in the pocket. Hence the necessity for both wide receivers and tight ends to get off the ball quickly and get into their pass routes. The first of the four basic releases is called the inside move, utilizing the outside arm of the inside arm of the defender. When you come up the field like this, it's a power move utilized on the defender, hence to keep him on your outside shoulder. This is of most benefit to the routes that are run on the inside of the field, like the in, the hook, or the post. The obvious converse to that then is the outside release, which is done by utilizing your inside arm on the outside of the defender. Again, the power moves this way to keep him on the outside and do the converse routes of the ones that we had just discussed. The out, the hook to the outside, or the corner route. The third technique is entitled the swim technique.
This has been utilized sometimes by wide receivers out of the two-point stance, but it has really been invented more by the tight ends because of the fact that inside, where they're next to the tackle and it's a much more restricted area, they have to come up with new and creative ideas of getting off the line of scrimmage. This is done both outside and inside by utilizing the outside arm on the shoulder pad of the defender. And then as you're cutting up field, bringing the right arm almost over in a butterfly move to get inside and get up the field, hence the reason for the word swim technique. The fourth and final basic technique is what I call the jerk, after the dance. This is where as a wide receiver or tight end comes up the field, and defensive backs are trained to watch the belt buckle or chest of the offensive player. In cutting off the line of scrimmage and moving this way or that, weaving, much like the old jerk of the dance, that deceives the defender into thinking that you're going to go one way or the other. And then when he commits, then you can cut up the field either way. Those are the four basic releases for both the tight end and the wide receiver. In today's sophisticated passing game, there are numerous pass routes. There are different numbers, there are different names, but they're all pretty much the same pass routes. I found that for myself that there are three basic rules that I have when coming to running pass routes. The first is to run disciplined pass routes. If the quarterback in the huddle calls for a 12-yard in, I can't be at 10 yards, I can't be at 14, I can't be at 16 yards. I have to be where he said. Hence the reason for the discipline and the continuity for other receivers and for the linemen as well. Second of all, it's a key to get in the quarterback's face. What I mean by that is that if the quarterback can't see you, he can't throw you the ball. So if he talks about a situation where you get in his line of vision, whether it be an out, an in, a quarter, or a post, you give yourself the opportunity of catching the ball and giving yourself more of an increased opportunity as long as he can see you. Third, plays do not always go as they're designed. Both the quarterback and especially the receiver have to have the ability to be spontaneous and be impromptu and create something out of the madness that is happening with different defenses and the quarterback getting the possibility of being sacked. We could go into an incredibly in-depth analysis as to how to catch the football, but the fact is that in my case, I only have two basic rules for catching the football. First, do whatever it takes to come up with a football, and second, concentration. When the ball is thrown, nothing else exists, and it is yours. Let me give you an example of what I'm trying to talk about. The quarterback is going to throw me 4 different passes, and I'm going to come up with the ball 4 different ways. First, throw up here to the left, my shoulder. This is how you're taught a lot of times the basics. Your hands extended, catching the ball with your thumbs together and bringing it into your chest. Terrific, and that looks great. But watch what happens when he throws it down in my stomach, and I'm inside the middle of the field with 2 defenders on each side here. I trap the ball. It looks like I catch it in my chest, something they tell you not to do. But the fact of the matter is that if I extend perfectly and catch the ball with linebackers on each side, he hits me with one arm, and all it takes is that much for the ball to drop, and it's an incompletion. The fact is I don't care what it looks like. I want to come up with a football. Throw it down on my knees. Okay, again, I have to come out, catch the ball, trap it against the tops of my thighs. That doesn't look too terribly artistic, but all the quarterback cares about is that's going to increase his completion percentage. One more time out to the side this way. Okay, it comes in here. There might have been a little facetious here. I didn't necessarily need to do that, but what happens a lot of times is as the ball is thrown, the ball can go every which direction. If you're intent on catching it this way or you have to catch it this way, then you're not going to come up with the ball if the ball changes and all of a sudden you go from 2 to 1 hand. You need to come up with it that way. The second point that I've been talking about is concentration. For you young people, I see that might seem like an abstract thing, but all we're talking about here is that once the ball is in the air, it's yours. The ability to focus in on one particular object. I'm going to have a defensive back help me here to give you an example of what I'm talking about. As the quarterback throws the ball, he's going to get in the way of it, but he's not going to touch it. It's going to be up to me to concentrate on the football and be able to come up with it as he tries to distract me. Go ahead. Okay. There's a certain period of time there where I can't see the ball, but I have to be focused in to the point where as I see linemen or I see linebackers or I see anything that can get in the way of the football, I have to have the concentration on that football to be able to come up with it. Okay? And as I said, you'll notice the different ways I'm catching the football, whatever it takes. We've addressed the point at great length today, the fact that both wide receivers and tight ends are pass catchers. But the fact of the matter is that in the running game, they're also an integral part of the running game as blockers. The wide receiver, for instance, if he becomes very successful at running his pass routes, can actually run dummy routes and bring one or two people out of the play, but not even touching anybody. The tight end, on the other hand, on the inside, actually has to be an integral part of the passing game because he is the strong side. He creates the strong side by being 3 on the line and 2 on the other, and as a result, has to be an integral part of the running game. There are 3 basic things that I have involved when it comes to blocking. There is technique, there's position, and it's what my coach used to call WANA. Now, we can sit here when we talk about technique. For the wide receiver, a lot of times in his 2-point stance, the only thing he wants to do if it's a running play to his side is he wants to get in the face of the defensive back. The same is true for the tight end. The whole thing is much like a mosquito who won't go away. You want to stay in the guy's face. You want to get him off the line of scrimmage, and you want him to be totally occupied with you that he can't make the play. Second of all, positioning is an issue. We can talk about the techniques, extending the hand, being in the stance, squatting down, driving off the ball, all these different things. But the key here is position. Are you in his face? Are you staying there? Is he a distraction? Is he not being a part of the offensive flow of the game? If you can say yes, then you're an effective blocker, no matter how good you look, how much you bench press, or how much you squat. But really, to be honest, when it comes to blocking, those first 2 things are not as consequential as the third, and that is WANA. A coach once told me that blocking was 10% technique and position and 90% WANA. So that's what it comes down to, is that blocking is a whole lot of WANA. When I was growing up, one of the players that I enjoyed watching was Baltimore Colts' Raymond Berry. He wrote a book on how to catch the football. And while there are a myriad of drills that you can utilize, I found that there was one that has been of most benefit to me. With the help of Mike Cedroth, I'd like to show you that drill right now. What it is that I'll stand approximately 7 yards away from the quarterback, and as he throws me the ball, I'll try to catch the ball in one hand and bring it into my body. The reason I find that this drill is most beneficial is because I cannot utilize the momentum that is normally utilized in the course of pass routes. Hence, I have to not only cushion the ball, but bring it into my body at angles that are not normal outside the field of play. This not only necessitates the ability to coordinate your hand and eye coordination, but it also benefits you in softening your hands and giving you much better concentration as well. The best safety tip that I could give to young receivers would be to keep your head up at all times. Not only will that give you the opportunity to avoid injury, but also gives you a much better view of the field to see the defenses and what they're doing to you. Hence the reason for not only keeping your eyes open, or as the coaches often say, your head on a swivel, but to give you the opportunity to see the field and avoid unnecessary contact.
Being a football player means a lot more than strapping on your helmet and the rest of your pads and running out onto a field. To be successful and to be safe, you must be in condition. Conditioning involves 3 different phases: cardiovascular fitness, flexibility, and strength. These 3 ingredients combined will allow you to perform at your maximum ability and allow you to become a successful football player. Let's talk about cardiovascular fitness. To be able to run out onto a field, chase a quarterback, run down a pass receiver, or cover a kick, you must have the endurance to be able to beat the other guy. Any game you've ever played, the winner usually is the guy that can last longer, that can stay out on the field and stay the strongest, the longest. We can obtain this cardiovascular fitness a number of different ways. First of all, let's talk about the 2 different aspects of cardiovascular fitness. We've got aerobic and anaerobic. Aerobic is a sustained, long-term, continuous action, say running a mile. Your heart is going at the same pace continuously. We can juxtapose that with anaerobic, which is a short, quick, sustained burst, followed by a rest, then another burst, an interval type training. Now, to be successful and cardiovascularly fit on the football field, we must have a combination of these 2 ingredients. But more importantly, we want to stress the anaerobic aspect of training. So to be able to train for a football game, what you would want to do is figure an average football game lasts 72 plays. You can break it down and say run 20-yard sprints 72 times, breaking it down, running intervals, and giving yourself a rest just as you would a football game. So we want to concentrate anaerobically on the same things we'll do on the football field, which is these short bursts. And that endurance will allow you to come out on top and be a winner. Our next ingredient is strength. Strength can be obtained in a number of different ways, but most importantly, football players use weight training as their base towards obtaining as much strength as they possibly can. Remember, weight training should always be supervised. Even at the professional level, professional athletes have a trainer who stands over to make sure the player executes the proper technique. Technique is very important in lifting weights. We're not so much concerned with how much weight we can lift. We're more concerned with the technique involved and executing the proper technique and getting through the repetitions, obtaining enough repetitions. It's important to remember, especially at a young age, that strength can be obtained not only in the weight room, but also by basic calisthenics such as push-ups, sit-ups, and pull-ups. In time, your muscles will develop and allow you to go into the weight room and with proper supervision, strengthen yourself even more. The last point we'd like to touch on in our discussion of overall conditioning is flexibility. When you come out onto a football field in the morning, your muscles are tight. You want to loosen them up. The best way to do that is to warm up and stretch. There are different types of stretching programs that you can get yourself involved in, but it's just basically important to get out, get the muscles loose, get relaxed so you can go about your practice and your training. Like I said, there are many different things you can do. One of them I like to do, among many others, is just the old split. And you can't just walk out sometimes and stretch like this. It takes a lot of practice and a lot of warming up. So remember, flexibility will keep you from getting injured and allow you to go out and do the best you can do on the field.
All that people see are the long touchdown runs, but there are more fundamentals to being a running back, and these are some of the techniques that I'm going to teach you today. The first thing a running back must learn is the proper stance. There are a couple of different stances. Say, take for instance, you want to get the 4-point stance for a fullback. The fullback is usually down with his knees bent, both hands on the ground. This stance is mainly used to foul for blocking. Fullback usually doesn't carry the ball that much. Then you have the tailbacks, which are usually off to the right and left. The knees are usually bent in flex position. Hands are down. There's a couple of different ways that people get in this kind of stance because it's a right way and it's a wrong way. One wrong way is if you're going to the left, a lot of guys will put the left hand down and give it away. Or if you're going to the left, you put your left foot back, like so. Or you may put your right foot back, like too far sometimes, because you're letting everybody know you're going this way. You make a quick break, your foot's back, you give it away. Defensive teams really look for that. With our team, the Los Angeles Rams, we usually run the 1-back set or the 2-back set, which is a fullback and a tailback. While the tailback is in an up position, like myself, hands on knees, looking straight ahead. And the reason that we use the eye is because the back has a chance to see everything in front of him. All the defensive linemen are down, the offensive line is down, and the quarterback is crunched down. Like I'm 6'3", so I can see over all the line. I can see over the quarterback, I can see the defensive backs and everything. And those are some of the basic things you should know about stances. After the stance comes the next important thing is taking the handoff. You're in your stance, the ball is snapped, you come to the line of scrimmage, the quarterback turns, you take, this is one of the ways I take the ball. Let's get this straight. You have your right elbow up. If the quarterback's to this side, you have your right elbow up, take the ball here. You can take it in your right arm or your left arm. It depends. Now, if you're going for a break, say if you exploding through the line of scrimmage, no one there. Most running backs will take the ball, you get the ball, you're gonna do this. It's your first instinct. If it's a lot of people, you'll have the ball like this because you don't want to fumble the football. If he's on the left of you, you come to the line of scrimmage, you put your left elbow up. Same thing. If you're going to make a break for it, you put the ball in your left hand or your right hand. Either one. It really makes a difference. But one thing about the quarterback is it's real important that he gets out of your way. Because if he hands off to you, he hands off, and you see a hole right here, and he's here, and you run into him, I mean, that can throw you all off. You can fumble the football, you can have a big collision, or it just messes the play up. The most important thing from getting the handoff from the quarterback is making sure that the quarterback's out the way, you have a proper handoff, and then you just go for it. One thing about carrying the football, you cannot be too conscious of the football because that cuts down on you being a good runner or a great runner or an average runner or a terrible runner. So carrying the football is very important. So if you have the ball in your right hand, the way we were taught is to take these two fingers, split them apart, and put them on each side of the point, like so. So if you were running to your left and a guy was coming here, you can switch the ball very easily to your left hand. And myself, I use a stiff arm, so that gives my right arm to be free, to do whatever I want to do with this arm. Also, if you carry the ball in your palm of your hand like so, like this, and doing this, the ball can be slapped away very easily. Or even you could make a move and lose the ball. That's happened to me before because when you want to be a running back, sometimes you want to be a little fancy or a little flashy. I mean, all of us have our little moments where we want to have a little fun with the ball, and that's when you lose the football. But one thing I said is you do not want to become too conscious of the football. When you become very conscious of the football, you cannot be a good runner. Other than the handoff and the straight pass, the other ways that running back get the football, and one is the pitch. In our scheme, we use the pitch play mainly to get outside. We call it the pitch, and we also call it the toss. The toss is when the quarterback reverses and pitches the ball to the running back. The pitch is when he just comes straight out and pitches it back. Also, in taking a pitch play from a quarterback, you want to always keep your eye on the football and take the pitch with two hands. We're taught not to look at anything else but that football. When the football's in the air, that's your main priority at that time. One thing that most runners do, including myself, we like to outrun our blockers because you see a lane, you want to get to it as fast as you can because you don't want it to close up. I can ruin the play by outrunning the blockers. That is very important, is not to outrun your blockers because you cannot be a good runner without blockers. You must have the blockers. Sometimes in pitch plays, for instance, where there's blocking, but then there's not blocking, where you may start outside and you have everyone going with you, all your players are with you, and then all of them get cut down. Myself, I look for the cutback lane. There's always a cutback lane in every defense because the defense has a tendency to over-pursue. So when you get the cutback lane, most of the times the big runs come. You may start outside, you may get 9 guys flowing with you perfectly, and then there's a lane. It's cut back into it. Even in being a good runner, you must be a good pass receiver because some teams do throw to the backs more than others. Our team, for instance, we don't throw to the backs as much, but when we do throw, we use screen plays. The running backs aren't really thrown to that much. We use as secondary receivers. If the quarterback really gets in trouble, they'll look for a running back. If you notice, most quarterbacks, they'll look around, and boom, they'll find a running back open, and they'll shoot the ball at him. He's usually a secondary receiver. Also, in being a running back, you must try to be the best blocker that you can possibly be. In our scheme, we do not run block. The tailback really doesn't have that kind of job, but we do have a job of protecting the quarterback, which is a very important job because you can get the quarterback knocked out, crippled, hurt, or his career ended if you do not do your job. One thing is, when you're blocking on a guy, you want to try to stay between him and the quarterback at all times. Keep your hands in his chest so you can keep him off of you. Once, if he gets to the point where he can grab your jersey and do you like that, he's by. And if it's the quarterback, you can almost say kiss the baby goodbye. Some defensive linemen like to make a lot of moves. Most of the time, being a running back, you will not block on a defensive lineman. But sometimes in our scheme, we have to block defensive linemen, which, you know, it hurts us, but we don't like it, but we have to do it. But one thing about blocking a defensive lineman is that if he's a big guy, you can be sure that he does not like you around by his legs. So if a quarterback, say, takes a 3-4 step drop, you can cut him right quick. And one proper way to cut, if he rushes, is at the last minute, hit him right above the knees because he can't jump you. If he jumps, you can almost be assured you can flip him over. But if you cut him too low, sit around by the ankles, he can step over you because most big guys are very agile in the NFL or in college anywhere. Even high school, some guys are very agile. So those are some of the right ways to block and some of the wrong ways to block. This is a drill that I learned when I was 16 or 17 years old for young runners. It's a drill that helps you with your feet, how to change direction, and how to be pursued in a way. It helps you. I think that it's helped me along in my career, and I'd like to demonstrate to you right now. I don't have a quarterback, so I'm just going to do it by myself. Usually you have someone to pitch you a ball, and also you may have even a friend to like just run along with you, just right in front of you. It really helps you a lot when you have someone working there with you, pushes you just a little bit harder. And that's the drill. That drill has helped me a lot in my career. I think it will help a lot of young runners. And I think just try it once. Believe me, it'll get you in shape. This is a tip for young runners who carry the ball a lot. And one thing that people think about football is it's a certain way that you can stop from getting hurt. There's really no proven way that you cannot get hurt. There's some safety tips that you can take. And one is that I've learned myself is that when you tackle or 3 or 4 guys have grabbed you, there's really no sense in fighting it because you're down. I mean, what is the sense in getting your leg broke for a half inch, a half a yard? I mean, then you can come back and get the ball the next play and go 80 yards. That's what I was taught. Or getting pushed out of bounds on the 15-yard line, you may get the ball the next play and take it all the way in. So if a guy or guys grab you around the leg, around the shoulder, enough guys, I mean, really, the play is over with. There's no sense in fighting it because you can always come back and try it again later. And that's my safety tip on how to run the football.
A very important, sometimes overlooked aspect of the game of football is the special teams. Obviously, the game can't start unless there's a kickoff and a return on the initial play of the game. Sometimes it might seem like it's helter-skelter on the field as far as special teams, but there is structure to it and there is plans, and teams put in a lot of time going over a game plan on special teams. Special teams can even be broken up into offense and defense, whereas kickoffs and punts can be your defensive strategy, where your returns, both punts and kickoffs, can be an offensive strategy. As far as the return game, and myself in particular, standing back after defense has stopped the opposing team, I go trotting onto the field, and the most important thing I have in my mind is ball possession, because the last thing I want to do is see Lawrence Taylor, Jim Burt, and Harry Carson come trotting back on the field because I laid the ball on the ground. The most important thing after catching the ball and securing ball possession is getting as far upfield as you can behind your blockers. And you always have a plan on punt returns, whether to go right, left, or up the middle, but sometimes the opposition makes you go into another pattern, and you sometimes have to break off of that strategy. And that's the fun part of special teams, because a lot of it is ad-libbed, although coaches don't like to see it that way. And getting the ball upfield as far as possible is very important, and if you can score a touchdown, that's great. But the most important thing, again, is the ball possession and field position. And with those two things, you can improve your team's chances of winning. As far as kickoff returns go, it's, again, very important to have ball possession, but the field position is very important also, because the opposition is just scored, or it's the beginning of the game or the beginning of the second half, and you want to get your team in a good frame of mind right from the beginning, and you want to provide that spark. It's a little bit easier and it's a little bit more structured than the punt returns, because you have a little bit more time to have your blockers get into place, and you've got more time to see the opposition coming down, whereas on the punt returns, you catch the ball and sometimes they're right on you, and you don't always make the right choices on whether to fair catch or not, and that's more of a feel thing, because you don't want to take your eyes off the ball on punt returns, because you'll drop it. And as I said before, ball possession is most important. Now remember, not everybody can be a superstar like Phil Simms or Eric Dickerson, but you can be a Phil McConkey and get your start into football via the special teams.
An offensive lineman, though seldomly seen through the course of the game, is one of the key parts to the football team, simply for the fact that behind every great pass, every great run, there's always a great block. And behind every great block, there's a basic set of fundamentals, which I'm going to teach you today. The starting point for an offensive lineman, before he even attempts to make a block, is always at the line of scrimmage, before the ball's even snapped. And that's his stance. Now, the basic offensive line stance is somewhere around shoulders apart. If you're a little bigger, a little smaller, you can vary it a little bit. But the thing is, bend the knees a little bit and get yourself in a comfortable position. Get the elbows on the knees, And before you go down, you always want to pick a point that you can get back out of, go to the left, go to the right, or go forward. So the thing is, you want to be comfortable, don't get too much weight forward, and don't get too much weight to the back. You have to be able to go to the left, the right, forward, and you might have to pull. Make sure it's comfortable. Don't get yourself in a position that's going to hurt you trying to make a block. One important thing to always remember about the stance of an offensive lineman is don't tip yourself off. Again, get your feet shoulder width, but it's important on where you place your hand. Too far out in front, you only have one direction to go, and the defensive lineman will know that. The hand too far back, if you're going to sit on your heels, he knows it's going to be a pass. The same way, if you're going to lean to the right or lean to the left, you don't want to show him which direction you're going. Don't give him any advantages. Two key points in executing any type of block. And it's not size and strength, because you always play against all types of defensemen. It's balance and it's leverage. And we already talked about the stance. You want to stay in that position, whether you're moving to the left or to the right. And once the ball is snapped, keep the wide base. If I'm going to stand there with my feet together, it's going to be very easy for somebody to knock me to the ground. Keep the wide base, take little choppy steps. The second and probably the most important factor is leverage. Now, when I'm talking leverage, I'm talking not on your hands and knees. You got to get underneath a defensive player. You're always going to have a 1 yard area. Come up, get in your stance, get down. Always think about getting underneath him. Get him up in the air, and then move him back whichever direction you want him to go. You want to get down, and as the ball snapped, he's going to come off, and you're going to come off. Get your head underneath and get him up in the air. Don't forget, he's got two things to look for, you and the ball carrier. You got one objective, to move this man the direction you want to move him, to keep him from making a tackle. Use your head to steer him. You want to move him to the right, get the head over here. The neck's probably one of the strongest parts of your body, so keep him from moving to that direction. You want to move him to the other side, same thing. Slip the head on this side. Get him up in the air, and then take him backwards. Two key points, leverage and balance, and you'll be successful. There's two types of blocking for an offensive lineman. Blocking for the run and blocking for the pass. Let's start with the run, because there's a lot of different variations. Now, when you're run blocking, you always want to change up, and that's what's good about this position. You can cut block, which I'll show you right here. Say if it's a sweep, the play's going outside, or you just want to change up a little bit and cut the man down. Simply come up. As the ball snapped, he's going to raise up. Shoot the head somewhere around between the knee and the thigh area. Always get it up high. And then from here, just roll him up, one way or another. Either this way, throw the head to the other side, and just roll him through this way. He's going to be looking for the ball carrier. You do that a few times, and the rest of the game, he's going to be playing patsies because he doesn't want to get his wheels cut. Say you're pulling on a sweep. You don't have to beat a defenseman. Say you got a cornerback sitting out here as you turn the corner. He's a lot smaller. He's going to try to avoid you. And the thing is, don't miss him. You want to use something which is known as a cross-body block. Simply go out, lay out one way or another. He's going to be coming up. Just throw your body across. Catch him with your hips. Instead of having only this much area to block with if you go straight ahead, now you enlarge your body, and you're talking a 6-7 foot area that he has to get around you. Simply throw your body across him, and again, just roll him up. Be careful, don't try to hook him, or they'll throw the yellow hanky on you, that's for sure. Just get him out in the open field. He's going to try to avoid you. He's going to try to make the tackle. Get out there, lay across him, and simply roll him up. You don't want to miss. The most important run block that you'll use is a drive block. Something you have to do to occupy a defensive lineman for at least 2 or 3 seconds till your offensive back can slide through the hole. Now, the drive block is simple. As we talked earlier, keep the wide base, get underneath of him, get him up in the air. Now from here, make sure you stay with your feet wide, keep the proper balance. If your feet get together or if you cross over, he can just push you to one side or another. He's still trying to keep the wide base. Keep the wide base, get him up in the air, use your head to steer him, and now take little choppy steps as you drive him backwards. Don't get too much weight forward. All he has to do is take one step back and you're down on the ground. Don't get too much weight on your heels, or otherwise you're going to go in the wrong direction. You want to move the man off the ball, preferably 2 to 3 yards. All you have to do is occupy him. Remember, he's looking for the running back, not for you. Keep him busy. Now let's talk a little bit about one of my favorite blocks, the trap block. It can be executed in a number of ways, but my favorite is just a run and drive block. Get yourself down in a position, throw your weight back, either left or right, whichever way you want to go. Throw the elbow back and go straight down the line. The defensive player is going to be waiting on you. You don't necessarily have to widen the hole, just make sure he doesn't close it. The more room you can give the back is always a big plus. Remember, get underneath of him, use your shoulder, and keep your head up. You don't want to take any chances of any injuries. As an offensive lineman, no matter what type of block you use, a cross-body block, a drive block, a cut block, or my favorite, the trap block, you only have to keep a defensive lineman occupied for 1 to 2 seconds, and the back will be through the hole. The second type of blocking we're going to cover today is blocking for the pass, which is totally opposite than blocking for the run. You want to keep your body in front of a defensive player. And nowadays, he can do a lot of different moves to try to get around you. His main goal, though, is getting to the quarterback. When pass blocking, again, from the same stance you use for the run, drop the hand, get the weight, come up in the air. Keep your body between the defensive player and the quarterback. And sometimes it's not easy. There's a lot of different ways you can do it. Now get a defensive player here. There's two types of rushes. He can either be a power rusher or he can be a finesse rusher. A power rusher is going to come off the ball. He's going to try to get up under an offensive player, drive you back to the quarterback. The thing is, when you come out of your stance, your arms in tight. Keep your arms in, get the leverage. Use your arms to keep him up in the air. Get his arms off you. He's a power rusher. He's going to have his weight forward. Drop your butt a little bit lower. Push against him. Don't push forward. If he decides to go around you, you'll be flat on your face. Keep a good balance. Use the arms. Get him up in the air. Keep his arms off of you. All you want to do is keep your body between him and the quarterback. The second type of rusher is a finesse rusher, a guy with speed, somebody that likes to turn the corner. He's not going to try to run over you. He's going to try to use you as what they call a lever board. He's going to come into you, and then he's going to try a swim move, which is arm over. Use your feet, good balance. Keep your body in front of his. Always a wide base. You're better off to take little steps than you are big steps. Another type, he's going to use an arm under, try to tie you up, get you to one side. Again, good base, drop your weight, and keep your body in front of him. Don't try to push him anywhere. All you want to do is keep him on the line of scrimmage. One position on the offensive line varies a little bit from all the others, and that's the center, the guy that starts a play. Now basically, his blocking techniques remain the same as a guard and tackle, but he has to do one thing first, and that's get the ball to the quarterback. That's his top priority. The center comes up, same as a guard and tackle, wide stance. He drops his other hand, one hand on the ball, one hand on the ground. Get yourself in a comfortable position. From here, he can drive block to the right, drive block to the left, or pass protect. But before any of that's done, he has to get this in the hands of somebody that knows what to do with it. Most centers will grip the ball with one hand. Bring it up, slightly tilted to the side. It gives the quarterback the laces, usually right where he wants them. Some centers tend to roll the ball a little bit to the side. They like to grip it with the laces and then make the quarterback adjust. Some teams will use two hands. Put both hands on the ball. Bring it up, but eventually only one hand gets to the quarterback. The left hand will slide off about halfway up. And then again, a lot of teams will do it with two hands this way in high school. Come up, lean on the ball, and as they snap it, they flip it back, giving the quarterback the laces. There's a lot of different ways to snap a football, the same as there's a lot of different ways to block a defensive lineman. But when you're snapping it, before you even block, your top objective is to get this in the hands of somebody that knows what to do with it. One of my favorite drills to improve the techniques of offensive line play is a foot drill. And you know what a big key balance plays in any type of run or pass blocking. It's a simple drill. It's a wide base drill. You take short little steps and you go in one direction, then to the other, as I'll demonstrate right here. Get yourself in a proper stance, get down, pop up. Whether it's a run or a block, you always want to keep the wide base. Come up, move to your left, then move to your right. Get yourself up and just step through it the first couple times. Always keep the wide base. Don't take the big steps out here. You're not going to be able to move. Don't take the crossover steps because somebody's going to push you over. Keep the wide base, little steps. Just shuffle. The same thing we talked about in pass blocking. Keep your body in front of the defensive lineman. Be able to go in either direction. Of course, you want to go a lot faster than this. In our team, we usually do it about 3 to 4 times a day. It's a simple drill. Pop up and move. Pick a spot about 5 yards to the left, about 5 yards to the right, and let's go. Get down, come up, and then go. It's up, and it's short steps. Drag the feet. Keep the hands in front of you. Don't lift them off the ground. The quicker and the closer you can keep them to the turf, the better off you're going to be. My safety tip for offensive linemen is a simple one. I know we all like to get downfield and help block for our running backs, but one key factor, either get in the pile or stay away from it. If you stand around the pile, you're going to get hurt.
Now that the pros have taught you to play all the offensive positions, it's time to choose the one that will suit you best. Naturally, I'm sure you'll all want to be quarterbacks. There are reasons for picking one position over another, but most important is selecting the one that you want to play. Above all, you must learn all the positions because someday you might want to switch. If you have a strong arm and like to lead others, you might want to be a quarterback. Running back or pass receiver might be your best position if you're as fast and as elusive as Eric or as agile and tireless as Todd. If you are big-boned and have a large frame, you could be leading a sweep like Russ. You have learned from the best, the NFL All-Pros. Now it's time to apply the skills, drills, and safety tips and go out and play. Above all, when you play, have fun.
Football the NFL way was brought to you by Wheaties.
When you're in the game, wear what the pros wear. When you work out, wear what the pros wear. When you're on the sidelines, wear what the pros wear. Only the authentic NFL Pro line brings you the same gear NFL players and coaches use from the people who make it. NFL tested, NFL tough. Jerseys by McGregor, Sandknit, Russell, Champion, and Wilson. Workout t-shirts by Starter and Champion, built to take it. Starter jackets with star quality, the choice of NFL coaches. Even the official NFL Wilson football. Now you can have it all for any NFL team. The authentic NFL Pro line.
Wear what the pros wear.
It's all in the NFL Pro Line catalog. For your copies, send $1 to NFL Pro Line, 10812 Alder Circle, Dallas, Texas, 75238.
Winning. There are a lot of misconceptions about winning. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be on top, but just do the best that you possibly can. When I was growing up, Wheaties was that thing that you associated with winners and champions. And you say, well, I want to be able to eat Wheaties and be a champion.